Nutrition Business Podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Coyne, founder of Healthy Steps Nutrition, CrossFit HSN, and HSN Mentoring, where we believe something as fundamental as nutrition shouldn't be complicated. Today's guest is Mike Allen from Fitness Revolution. He is the Director of Marketing, and marketing is a piece of the puzzle that most gyms have stopped doing right now. Don't just mean paid advertisements. It means positioning your brand in a way that potential new clients and your current clients understand how you can help them in their current situation. The main topics of this podcast discuss marketing strategies. We discuss targeting 3 different audiences. We also discuss the biggest mistake people are making during COVID-19 with marketing and what marketing channels are working right now in the industry. One of my favorite things that we talked about during this episode is partnerships. This has been a popular topic for HSN Mentoring. Now is the time to work with like-minded businesses and support each other. On May 14th, HSN is hosting a free webinar for gym owners and business owners on 3 steps to securing partnerships during COVID. Register for this webinar today at growyournutritionbusiness.com. Back to the podcast episode. Marketing is such an important topic. I really hope you enjoy this and listen closely as we talk about those 3 target audiences. I guarantee you are missing one of them. Enjoy. Welcome back to the Grow Your Nutrition Business Podcast. Today we have Mike Allen on the podcast from Fitness Revolution. Mike, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself and Fitness Revolution before we dive into all the amazing content we have in store today.
Sure, yeah. So as you said, I'm Mike Allen. I'm a former fitness business owner, both private practice and then virtual online. Circa around 2011, I started my own online practice. And from there, I got really involved in the marketing side of things. And now I'm both a success coach and the marketing director for Fitness Revolution. So what we do is we are a fitness business coaching firm. So we help independent gym owners shorten the learning curve and gain control and stability over their businesses. We do that by means of coaching. And then we also have a proprietary methodology, which we call the Fitness Business Alignment System. And so we use that as kind of like a guidepost for our coaching. And it's pretty cool because it's configurable. It's tailored to where they are in their journey. So we can basically look at like where they are in their fitness business owner's journey and then just insert this to fit them where they are so we can help them get to where they're going.
Awesome. And you guys work with quite a few different types of fitness business owners, correct?
Yeah, we have a lot of independent studio owners. We have a lot of independent contractors. We have some CrossFit boxes, pretty much everything in there. We have multi-location business owners that we work with.
Awesome. Well, today, I really want to dive into everything that's going on with COVID and some opportunities that fitness business owners might not necessarily be thinking about. What are some things that you guys are talking about with your clients? And I know you guys host a ton of free webinars. What are some opportunities that you guys are talking about right now?
Yeah, of course. This has been coming up a lot. I think when COVID started, everyone immediately saw the obstacle. And that was kind of like the big thing in front of them was like an oh no moment. And immediately, like we started to see a couple of opportunities that were just being missed. And I think there's 4 key ones that people have just not been paying very much attention to. And the first one is like a marketing opportunity. So what's ended up happening is a lot of the competitors in the market have just stopped marketing completely. So this has created an opportunity for anyone willing to market right now where they're getting in front of more people for a lot less effort in dollars if they're spending ad dollars as well. So one is like the ability to market. 2 is servicing people that they wouldn't normally be servicing. So a lot of the big box chain gyms have been having trouble setting up their virtual offers or haven't been doing a great job of it compared to a lot of these smaller independent gym owners and fitness business owners. So they've been able to help service their local community in a way that, these big box gyms have not been able to, which is getting more eyes on them too. And in some cases, even expanding their clientele right now.
Absolutely.
The other opportunity, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Absolutely. I think this is a really important point because especially franchises, right? A lot of them shut off their billing. And if people are not being paid from a local affiliate, right, they're probably not going to be as motivated to do all this online stuff to support their clients when the corporate has shut down payment, right?
Yeah, I think you're totally right, Nicole. And I know a couple of them have like little apps that they've launched with just like very basic foundational information. A few have done like some YouTube series and stuff, but I just don't think they've been able to put forth the resources and deliver the quality that these small studio owners are, or let alone the attention to detail in, one thing that I see a lot from our community is they're all really focused on giving a lot back to their clientele right now and over delivering. And I just don't think the big chains are going to do that.
I think too, as a smaller gym owner, you have better relationships with people than a gym owner that has 500, 1,000 members, right? So people are trusting you and knowing that you're there to help them. And it's just an easier transition because you can also control what you do and what you don't want to do, right? I mean, some gyms, I think, went headfirst into everything virtual, supporting their clients individually and maybe over delivering with, gosh, I know some gyms that were like texting every single day, which for a week sounds great, but 6 weeks in seems like a lot of work still. But you could also be just reaching out to your clients individually in addition to what you're talking about with like an app and, providing content, right?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I mean, that's a lot of what we're seeing is the community focus and the personalization is there. And I just don't think that the big box chains have been able to deliver that nowhere near to the degree that these smaller independent studio owners have.
Absolutely. I think change and new things is scary for everybody, but if you're able to just kind of embrace it and jump in and know that it's not going to be perfect and people will give you a little bit of grace because we're all learning this virtual realm right now and just you have to take action, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even if it doesn't go perfect immediately, like the pros and cons of not taking action, there's a lot more cons there than there are, or there's a lot more pros there than there are cons. So even if like the action doesn't go perfectly on the first run, you can at least learn something from it and adjust and do better the second time.
Absolutely. I think we can say that happened with our first Zoom class, like doing some different things and trying, okay, that didn't work as well. Let's do something different. Same thing with kids' virtual PE classes, right? You have to test it out. So I love that. Servicing people is a really cool opportunity that the people that are looking for help right now, they're stuck at home. They're not in their normal routines. They don't have a place to go. They're looking for help. So understanding that, hey, you can provide this service to people that you might not been able to provide to them before.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the case. And I think that that's kind of a nice segue into the third opportunity, which is like the market you're coming back to. So I think that once we get out of the nitty gritty of COVID-19 and doors start to open back up, which is, I mean, we've had a couple of the first announced openings coming, I think tomorrow. Like we're going to be coming back to a different market. Unfortunately, I don't think every business is going to make it through this. And that means that there's going to be a lot more opportunities for those businesses that have been servicing their clientele well and have been marketing during this time. You're just going to have a bigger pool of people to choose to market to.
Absolutely. I think you have to also think about who, when you do open your doors, is going to run back in. And some clients might not want to run back in, and some clients might want to stay completely virtual, right?
Yeah, I think you're totally right. I mean, just because doors are able to open back up doesn't mean that people are going to feel safe to do that. So, I mean, a lot of the coaching partners, which is what we call our clients, a lot of the coaching partners I work with, we're talking about the fact that like they probably need to have a virtual offer and an in-person offer available as their doors are opening back up. You're going to need to serve both of those ideal clients right now, the people that are not feeling safe to come back in and the people that are looking forward to it.
Absolutely. And maybe a hybrid of both, right? Maybe you have some virtual support and some in-person support too.
Yeah, of course. I think you're absolutely right on that. And then I think the last opportunity there for these independent studio owners is that they're probably going to be the first ones to open back up. I don't think that we're going to see, the 24-hour fitnesses of the world or the big chains with thousands of members being the first ones to have the opportunity to like get a hold of what's working when doors open. It's probably going to be the 30-person studios that can adhere to social distancing protocols that are going to have that opportunity first.
Absolutely. And just making sure you're creating your reopening plan and communicating that with your staff and then cascading it down to your members, right? I know that's something we're actually working on in this moment. Like, what does this actually look like and how are we going to have those protocols and cleaning between your classes, right? Like all the little details that you need to think about when you are reopening your facility.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think that the key point of what you just said there is like having a plan, like thinking these things through. And no one right now has successfully opened a gym post COVID-19. So I don't think anyone for sure knows exactly what that's going to look like, but we can, there's some definitely likely scenarios that we're going to run into. And I would look at the plan that you had for your business as it was. That's probably a good starting place. And then I would look at like things that you absolutely have to change and what are those tweaks you have to make, and then just have a plan to go into it. Know that that plan may need adjustments along the way, but having a plan that can be adjusted is better than not having a plan at all.
Heck yes. I think some of the considerations that we're thinking about, and I'd love to hear what you guys are talking about too, is what does your waitlist system look like, right? Like, do you have a reservation system so that people are not showing up at your doors thinking that they're coming to the busiest class and not able to get in? We use PushPress and, set that entire system up. We did not have a waitlist system before or a reservation system before this all happened. So that's one thing that we're thinking about. Also, what's the buffer between classes? Because the way our gym works, and I'm sure most of your gyms, it's 5:30, 6:30, 7:30 p.m. classes back to back. So, thinking about, can you make the classes a little bit shorter so you have that buffer to clean between, or are you going to cut the amount of classes and add a break between, right?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of those things that gym owners are looking to consider right now. And on top of that, it's small things that, like, if you have half of your clientele coming back into the gym and half of them are still virtual, we have several gyms that we work with where they've actually loaned out a lot of equipment.
Yep.
So then they're running into, like, what do I do with that equipment? What do my cleaning protocols need to be? There's just so many variables to consider right now.
That's another thing that we're actively looking at. I mean, most gyms have rented out almost all of their equipment. There's nothing left in the facility. So you need some time to be able to get all that stuff back and clean it for sure.
Yeah, I also think there's value right now in just trying to get a sense from your clients of, like, who's looking to come back in when doors open and who might want to stay virtual for a little while. And, like, what does that mean? Like you were talking about scheduling. What does that mean for scheduling and staff allocation of hours and all those things that we're going to have to account for?
Another thing that you might want to consider is, did you have childcare services during classes, right? Children are home now. And if you did have childcare services and you have to have a cap on your classes, that child is going to take up a spot of a person in your building, right? Like, for us, we're telling our members, like, your kids have to stay home. Like, you cannot bring your kids because, number one, I don't want any liability coming on us for them to potentially, hopefully not get exposed. But I also want to make sure that our members can take the classes and we don't have 5 kids taking up 10 spots, right?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I think you brought up the point of liability. That one, I think, probably goes beyond just taking up the spot and into, like, what kind of liability do we want to take on here? That's an area where I'd probably be very cautious.
For sure. Lots of things to think about, but all really good opportunities that you need to think about as a gym owner right now as we start to open up. I mean, we know that gyms in China have already started opening up, and then an article came out yesterday that they closed again. So, where are you at right now, and what do your members want? I think sending out a survey to find out what times. I mean, if people are not working or they have more flexible hours, could they come to a slower class so that you don't have everyone coming to your prime class times, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And something you brought up in there, Nicole, was, like, the point that just because your gym opens back up doesn't mean you won't be remandated to close. And what does that look like?
Yeah.
What would happen in that case for these gym owners? And also, like, what staff training is going to need to take place? You're probably going to have to look at retraining on some things like cleaning and the way you approach, your cleaning protocols and your scheduling and all that stuff.
Absolutely. And I think, going back to what are you marketing and, making sure that you have clearly defined the virtual services that you can provide, whether you are open or closed, is going to help you get new people right now, right?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely.
Let's talk a little bit about marketing. I think this is such a touchy subject right now. I mean, truthfully, people are looking for help. They're stuck at home, especially nutrition. I'm seeing more and more nutrition clients sign up like they have never cooked this much. They're getting super bored and they're just uncomfortable in the kitchen. What are you seeing as far as marketing tips during this time, and what's working well, what's not?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that first thing is, like, you have to be doing it. So make sure that you're marketing. That's, like, not a discretionary expense that we can never just get rid of. That's a long-term investment in your business. And cutting marketing because we're in COVID-19 will only, like, ensure this slow death of a business. So we just need to be doing that. But I think I break this up into probably 3 categories. And I think the overarching theme here is that the staples of business always apply. So the things that, like, made your business successful when it was open in person are a lot of the same staples that are going to work virtually. There's just going to be a couple nuances that we need to consider and variables that are different. So I think there's three categories, and the first one is messaging. I think right now communication, both optically speaking and for like lead generation purposes, matter a lot more. And I've been seeing this a lot in the market where the way that things are phrased, even like introducing the virtual offer, has had to be a little bit more delicate.
No, I think you're 100% right. You need to clearly define what the services that you're offering. I know we did a webinar earlier this week, and one of the things I was talking about is text the people that have been active with your virtual offerings and get some quotes from them, so your success stories accurately represent the virtual services that you're offering, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that like the wording and the lingo used is mattering more now than it used to be. And some like the intentions matter a lot too. So at the beginning of COVID, we were seeing a lot of business owners that were kind of afraid to address it. And the messaging key right there was like, you have to attack it head on. Like you have to say like, I'm aware of this. Here's the steps that we're taking. Although we've always had a clean facility, we're going over and beyond right now in these ways. And now it's kind of like, here's how we're taking care of you guys virtually. You know, a lot of their clients, I think, feel like being virtual is not ideal, but there's a lot of opportunity to deliver more value right now too. And so your messaging can now be shaped around like all these extra things you're doing to serve those needs that your clients still have. And that's the key, is that the value is still there. The need is still there. You're just servicing it virtually now instead of in person.
Absolutely. Over communicating the member benefits is key. Right now, people need to hear things, 7 to 10 times before taking action. So yeah. You got to just keep repeating yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I think beyond that, it's just making sure that your messaging goes a long way. Like keep it clear. Don't use a long-winded or lots of words that are confusing. Keep it concise. Keep it compelling, credible, and keep it customer focused. You know, it's about them, and that's what they're going to respond to.
Absolutely.
I think the next category is the actual activity. So I always break this up into 3 channels, and one is like internal, one is online, and one is offline. And I think at minimum, a good marketing approach needs to check all 3 of those boxes. You need to have one activity for each of those. And that doesn't mean you need to stop at one. And so I'll kind of give you one example of each channel, and then I'll use an example that's working for each channel. So an example of internal that's working right now is the staple that's worked for a lot of people along, which is referrals. So, I mean, a lot of clients right now they're understanding that small businesses are hurting. They want to help you guys, and they just need to be educated on how to refer someone to you. So, make sure that you're asking them for referrals, and make sure that you're explaining to them how to refer someone to you. But an internal channel is great for referrals. And I also think, Nicole, you brought up texting for testimonials. We should always be gathering that information and using that social proof in our marketing. And you're leading into that question with, what's the most beneficial thing you've gotten out of this in the last week? I think you worded it something like that, is a great way of an internal channel in use.
Absolutely. And just as you said, your members want to help you. They want to see you succeed. They want to see you open the doors back up so they can get back to their normal routine after this is all said and done. So I've seen our members go above and beyond over the past 6 weeks to share our stuff on social media and just help us with whatever possible thing that they could to just get exposure, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're certainly willing to help, but we don't want to, we need to be proactive about making sure that we make the most use of that. So I think Nicole, you brought up sending them the text. It's the same thing. You need to go to them and ask them for the referral. Don't just wait for them to bring one to you.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're thinking about this, text 5 to 7 people that have been super active and just ask them, how has the accountability and support helped you through this difficult time? Just ask them in a text message. People are bombarded with emails right now. They're not going to see an email. If you text them, they'll respond right back. And now you have a quote they can slap next to a picture and put it on your social media, wherever, website, email, all the things.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it seems like people are more than willing to do that right now. So
absolutely. Love that internal referral activity. Let's talk about external.
Okay. So offline, this would be something like maybe joint ventures is a good one that's working right now.
Yes.
So I think a lot of your local market is they're going through the same thing. So they have the same question. How do I market right now? And I've seen this work really well in a couple different ways. One that is going really well is just kind of exercising some humility and reaching out to someone who makes sense. So maybe in a similar segment, but solving a different problem. and just saying something like, hey, look, I'm trying to get this offer out. Is there anything that I can send to my list on your behalf? Any offer that you need to get out, and in exchange, would you do this for me? Another way that you could do something like this is organize a small group. So this may look like a personal trainer, a meal delivery company, a nutritionist, and like a physical therapist, all that are trying to do something different virtually, coming together and creating like a promotional calendar where, on next Wednesday, the entire group sends out the nutritionist offer to all of their followings. And then a couple weeks after that, the personal trainer gets their offer sent out to everyone's followings. And so what it allows you to do is get in front of a lot of eyes that are all within your segment. So the likelihood of them being qualified is really high without having a lot of ad costs to do it. And it creates a consistent cadence of which that gets done as well. So I think those are both pretty good approaches for people to take right now. I just think on the group one, you're going to have to do a little bit more vetting to get the right businesses involved, both for like the benefit side, but also it needs to be somewhat equitable, meaning that if my list is 2,000 people and your list is 12,000 people, that's a big difference, and businesses are going to be wanting to consider that. And I think you can sweeten the deal here by becoming affiliates for everyone. So if everyone makes money every time something gets sold, there's going to be a lot more incentive for people to want to do that.
I think you're 100% right with local businesses being more apt to partner with you right now. I know something that we're talking about with our gyms is the ones that are running nutrition challenges have a weekly prize that you're giving out a gift card of a local restaurant in return that they're advertising this challenge for you. So same idea as your group, partnering with a local business just in a different way, but definitely get creative and use the time you have right now to help support other local businesses, and in return, they will support you. You just want to make sure that you're super clear up front with, okay, what am I going to do to support you, and what are you going to do to support me?
Yeah, that's a great point, Nicole. And there's actually a challenge floating around right now that is similar to what you were just explaining. And it's basically like someone signs up for your FEO is what we call it, but it just stands for front end offer. Think of it like a taste test, a taste of your business and getting to know you. And normally, if they were running a paid FEO, that would be, I don't know, $79 for 2 weeks of personal training, for example. What they'll do is they'll create tiers, and your tiers can be like a donation, and it can be $10, maybe $20, $70, and $100. And those look different for a bunch of different businesses running this offer right now. And what they do is half of that goes to the company that is running the FEO, so the personal training company or the small group training facility. And the other half goes to a gift card for a local business of the person's choice signing up, and they send you the gift card. So it's like giving back to your local business community while also getting someone into your FEO at the same time.
Love it. Definitely. I think the main point is you need to take action and you need to get creative here.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not a bad time at all to just be giving back to your community, or at least be communicating that you're concerned about that.
100%. Let's talk about this online offer. More people are online right now than ever. What does that really look like?
Yeah, I mean, there's always a lot of things you can do online. Some people are getting really creative with their social channels, and that's working well. I think the opportunity that I'm leaning into now is actually paid advertising. And I think that this is one of those things that some business owners are apprehensive to do, but right now the cost per leads are just lower than they've ever been. There is less leads total than there's ever been, I think, for a lot of these business owners. And the easiest way to get leads is to pay for them. So if you do have a marketing budget, I would encourage you to write some good copy, put out an ad that's really compelling, and try that course. Well, you can get a discount on that paid advertising.
Absolutely. I know we started paid advertising a couple weeks ago, and our cost per lead has gone down significantly too. What are some different, are you seeing like better responses on Instagram, Facebook? I mean, what are you guys seeing, or just kind of a split between both?
Yeah. So when it comes to the platform selection, I think that I always look at ROI, like where are people getting a good return, but that usually correlates highly with where their ideal client is and how often they're there. So if, for example, my ideal client is both on Facebook and Instagram, but they're spending 90% of their time on Instagram and 10% of their time on Facebook, I'm going to want to focus a little bit more heavily on Instagram. And I also think like where your base is built. So if you have a big Instagram following, your page is really interactive and engaged, but your Facebook is not, then that's probably a good place to lean into a little bit more. I think you can do well with Google. I think you can do well on any platform. The like nuances of digital marketing and direct response marketing apply to all of those, but I really think it's about putting your message in front of the right audience and figuring out where they are. So this comes back to like knowing your ideal client really well. If I had to put a line in the sand and like give a suggested starting place, it would probably be Facebook. That's where I consistently see the highest ROI for a lot of people. So I think that's a good place to start if you're unsure.
Awesome. And you can start off small, tweak things, and then once you've got the copy nailed down and everything perfect, then go ahead and increase the ad spend, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, any advertising platform, whether it's Google or Facebook or Instagram or any of these, it's going to be relentless testing. So, I mean, you're going to need to put something out and then test it and refine it, and that process never ends. It's just same thing with our messaging. We're always testing and refining.
Absolutely.
And I think that goes really well into the third category of marketing, which is the tracking and measuring. So you need to track in order to measure, and you need to measure in order to manage. So I think your marketing needs to be accountable, right? Otherwise, we're not making very informed decisions, and we're kind of just guessing at what's working. So there needs to be a way for you to track an ROI on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that that's kind of like the hoping that referrals come to you method. And you'll see this a lot in earlier stages of business where they're building off word of mouth, but there isn't a lot of tracking of that. There's not a lot of orchestrating and stimulating referrals. It's just a lot of waiting for them to come to you. But it's not just an investment of your dollars either. It's also an investment of your time. So what are you putting forth to stimulate your marketing, and what is that costing you, and what are you getting in return, and how are you measuring that? I think those are things that we should all be thinking about right now.
100%. No, I'm a huge proponent. I know you guys are doing the same thing, like putting out free content. And as business owners, people are online looking for free help. So can you put out some blogs and different things, answering questions that people are asking, to start building that relationship in a blog or video, email content, so that your name is consistently getting out in front of your target audience, and then go and start paid advertising, right?
Yeah, I think you absolutely can. It's a good way of building a reputation, and most importantly, just getting your name associated with that client and what you do. They need to start thinking about you that way. And I think if you don't already have that, it's probably wise to do that first before you get into paid advertising and really build up that basis.
Test stuff on your organic posts, right? Like see what people are connecting with and use that as maybe a boosted post, right? I mean, if you're not wanting to create a whole Facebook ad, could you just start with what is the most popular thing that you're posting about that you can just boost and get in front of more people?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and it doesn't even have to be a post. I mean, it could be a conversation. So a lot of times in webinars, we'll hear something that someone's talking about, and that thing will come up again and again. And then we'll create a post for it, and that post will get good response. And then that turns into a blog, and then that blog turns into an entire webinar, and that gets ran on advertising or something like that. I think it's just like understanding what people need and understanding how to solve that need.
100%. And if you're not sure what your clients need, ask them what they need help with, and then just use the same language that they're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely asking them is the first step, and observing them is the second step, and using their language is the third step. And I say the second step is observing because I think people tend to make decisions with emotion and justify with logic. You've heard that saying before. Mm-hmm. And so when you're having the conversation, they'll be explaining it to you logically, but when they actually take the action, that's more the emotional side. Mm-hmm. So if you kind of listen to them and then observe what they do, it should give you the full piece of the puzzle. And you just may need to have a couple sets and reps with that.
Absolutely. What is the biggest mistake that you're seeing right now in regards to marketing and COVID and just in general? What is the biggest mistake that you're seeing right now with business owners?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the biggest mistake specific to marketing is not doing it. But that's kind of the given, right? So beyond that, I think it's putting all your eggs in one basket. So maybe they found one small thing that's working really well for them, and they're putting all their effort into that. But I think there's a lot of issue being leveraged too heavily with one channel. So that's why specifically I broke down the internal online and offline channels. You need to diversify your marketing a little bit, and having one that's working really well is great, but that can change really quickly. And that can be outside of your control a lot of times. So, I mean, a couple of years ago, Facebook changed their algorithm, and that was working really well for a lot of people. And then overnight it wasn't. Same thing happened with Google's advertising cost a couple of years before that. Anyone who built their business around MySpace had a lot of problems when that platform went under. So I would look at the things that you can do that are consistently working well and also consistent long-term investments in your business, like building your list, for example. That's yours, you own it, you can upload it to a new autoresponder and you can take it with you forever. And so I think that's kind of a balance of just not being too heavily leveraged to any one channel and then also doing the short term and the long term in your marketing.
100%. I think we're going back to, if we're trying to build a list, you should be providing some content for people for free too. Like build that relationship with people with things like, I mean, if we're talking about nutrition, maybe 5 easy recipes and have that as a downloadable PDF that people can submit their email address and get that downloadable PDF. Something that worked really well with us was a free nutrition seminar that we hosted, right? So we had over 120 leads from it in 4 days of people that joined a free nutrition seminar, local leads. So, lots of different things that you can do. People are online, people are stuck at home, no one's traveling. You have a good opportunity if you can get creative to get in front of people that would have never found you before.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And it also, it changes the way people think about your business too. So for example, we have an entire living document right now where we just have a ton of resources that we've gathered, that we've built out specifically for COVID, that have some of our partners' resources on there. And we do generate leads from this, but really all we're trying to do is help.
Yeah.
We're just trying to give people answers to things that they don't have answers to.
Absolutely. It's much tougher to reinvent the wheel than just watching what other people are doing that's working really well and running with that. Because at this point, every single gym owner or any entrepreneur does not have time to reinvent the wheel with every single thing.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I would look too at how you can have someone help you spin that wheel without you doing it all on your own. So for example, as a personal trainer, your clients are probably stronger if they're also working with a nutritionist, right? Well, how can you solve your problems for your customer without having to do it all on yourself or without having to introduce something that's outside of your expertise? Who can you partner with to help you solve these problems?
Absolutely. You don't have to be at the best at everything, but you need to partner with people to leverage your business, right? As people are starting to reopen, what should we be thinking about? Like, is there any other things we haven't talked about yet? I mean, the reopening conversation is pretty new, right?
Right.
What are some things beyond what we talked about earlier that businesses should definitely be thinking about right now?
I think they should be thinking of disruptions across different areas of their business. So like the service disruptions, and we did talk about that a little bit, and then also the revenue disruptions and how to mitigate those as much as possible. I think like the majority of my focus right now would be on what am I doing during COVID that needs to continue as my doors open, and what little things do I need to change. So for example, like right now, a lot of people are having conversations with their landlords about deferring rent for next month, and their vendors about incoming shipments that they were having. And these are things where you have to think about like, how are those conversations going to change or not change going into doors opening? How is your marketing going to change and not change when you have both a virtual offer, maybe a hybrid offer, and an inline or an in-person offer? I mean, there's just so many variables to consider. And I think that what people should be doing is looking at what they had before, looking at what's going to be different now, and what of those variables have to be changed.
Absolutely. I think that's such a key point. If you haven't talked to your landlord yet, get on it and talk to them. What would you say of your clients? Have they had good success deferring rent and kind of postponing payments?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's been pretty successful, actually. I think a lot of landlords understand, and I mean, we too have to understand that they're business owners as well, right? And so they're going through their own issues. We've had a couple of people where their landlords reached out to them and just gave them a free month of rent or maybe 2. We've had others that have had success negotiating. I think they understand right now, but I would be proactive about having the conversation and not wait until the last minute and hope that they're going to be able to help you, because they're dealing with these financial issues too. It's affecting everyone. It's a trickle down impact.
For sure. Absolutely. Mike, what other kind of things do you want to discuss on this podcast today? I think this was such a great kind of overview of the marketing support that you guys provide gyms, talking about, what is your marketing message? Who are the people that you're servicing and that you could potentially be servicing that you weren't before? Thinking about how are you going to adjust as your doors reopen? Are you going to keep some of these offerings that you had virtually, which is what I would highly recommend just in case we have to reclose again? Hopefully not, but if we do. And some people might not want to come back. Like, that's totally okay. Now you have another permanent client. I know for us, we had some snowbirds that actually went back north and they've stuck with virtual personal training with us and they wouldn't have in the past. So think about how can you provide support for people that you weren't before, and really what is that messaging, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that the main thing that I think everyone really needs to realize right now is that the problem to be solved hasn't changed. Like, people probably need fitness more now than ever. And I think the same thing goes with nutrition, right? Like, they're stuck at home. They don't really have a lot that they can do. And they certainly can't go down the street and purchase from your competitor in person. So, like, it's our obligation to continue to solve that problem for them and deliver the value that we've been delivering for them. And the only way you can do that is to be marketing, to be delivering a world-class experience, and to be selling too. And I think that that's another issue that people are running into is the ones that are willing to market, but they're having a lot of trouble asking for the dollars, right? So, like, they're willing to gain the information and gain the new lead, but they're less willing to position their offer in front of them and actually sell them on it. And I think you have to be doing that, and you have to be willing to do that in order to actually help them.
Absolutely. People need to invest in their health, and they are looking to do that because they are stuck at home and they need support, right? You're going back to a really important point that as a fitness studio owner, as a coach, you're selling coaching. You're not selling access to a gym. And you can provide that coaching virtually, in person, or a combination of both. And as long as you're confident in the results that you can provide people, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think you can get them confident in that. And I think you can get them to realize that they need this now more than ever. And I think the key to that is not necessarily you telling them that, but you opening the door for them to think about that themselves. And this is where, like, really providing a lot of value, and like you've talked about, putting out a lot of free content is really helpful. Exercising social proof really well, I think, makes a big difference here. And just like letting them know that you're the ideal problem for their solution, or the ideal solution for their problem.
Absolutely. You know what? One of the questions I proposed in a Facebook group when this all started was, how much money are you saving not going out to eat and drinking out as much as you were before? So if you think about how much people are actually saving, maybe they could reinvest some of that money back into staying healthy and taking control of their health through nutrition and fitness coaching.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of saving going on right now, right? Like, even things like gas, like, we're not spending money on things that we used to spend money on all the time. So they're gonna have the need for it, I guess, is like the key takeaway there. And just, we have to be willing to continue to solve that problem for them and meet them where they're at.
Absolutely. I think most of the gyms that we talk to in regards to nutrition, first and foremost, you need to take care of the people that are stuck with you. Like, that, of course, is the first and foremost thing that you should be thinking about. And then once your people are all taken care of and they are doing awesome, then go ahead and start helping others. Like, there's more people that need help right now and you can help them.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, when this first started, I was coaching on, I think I had 4 or 5 different steps. And the first one was like, you immediately need to have a virtual offer. Like, you immediately need to have a way to solve this problem for people in a virtual setting. And the next step is like moving all of your existing clientele over to that virtual option. And then it's like getting better at delivering that virtual option. And then it's learning how to market that virtual option. And then it's running a reactivation campaign. Anyone who, like, you've encountered in the last, so far this year, who either was now a cold prospect or an old client or went on freeze or hold, like, let's reopen communication with those people and let them know that we're still here and we still want to take care of them.
Absolutely. Picking up the phone and calling has definitely been the most effective thing for us. But even inviting them to a community class or a nutrition seminar, sending out a text just saying, hey, how are you? If you don't have the capabilities of picking up the phone and calling, getting in front of people is huge for sure. Mike, you're such an abundance of knowledge when it comes to marketing. Any final thoughts? Where can people go to get more help? Where's that COVID document that you are talking about?
Oh, of course. So frnation.com/HSN. They can go right there and they can get that doc for free. In that doc, we've opened up a ton of resources that you guys can use, free blueprints, You can schedule a free coaching session with one of our coaches. We'd be happy to talk to you guys and make sure you have some support, partner solutions, all kinds of goodies in there for them. And then if they need anything at all, I mean, they can reach us. But I think frnation.com/HSN is where they would want to go.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure and link that in the notes. Any final thoughts before we jump off? Thank you so much for all of your help today. I think this is definitely going to help some gym owners get some clarity on where they should be focusing and what other opportunities that they've likely been missing, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think my parting words of wisdom here are like, you need to understand the current landscape, and then you need to have a plan for operating in the current landscape. So just evaluate what's going on, how it's going to impact you, look at the plan you already had, and then look at what adjustments you need to make moving forward.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And again, we will link frnation/HSN in the show notes for you to grab that COVID document and all the free help that they have provided. Thank you guys so much. It's been such a pleasure to work with you guys over the past few weeks, doing a webinar with you and you guys coming on the podcast, and look forward to working with you guys more in the future.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I also look forward to working with you again.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Grow Your Nutrition Business Podcast. Don't forget, on May 14th, we have a free webinar for gym owners on securing local partnerships. Now is the time to work with other local businesses to support each other. Also, next week on the podcast, we have Ashley Osterman talking about 3 steps to virtual coaching and how to provide an amazing experience for your clients. If you are looking to add nutrition services but don't want to reinvent the wheel when it comes to building a program, we want to help. Go over to growyournutritionbusiness.com and book a free call today.